All right, we're sitting here with Dayna Kleve, the Director of Diversity, Engagement, and Foundation at Walser.
This is Amplify, a retail automotive podcast brought to you by Reuters Events and ASOTU. It's time to make the most innovative voices in retail automotive louder.
Before we get into this, I need to make a call out to all people everywhere thinking about titles of people in job roles.
And the people who have to podcast
And
with
the
them.
people that has to podcast for them, please make this simpler on our lives. We have, maybe...
But job titles mean something.
They do mean
and
something.
To give people an idea of what you actually do and pay attention to.
Exactly.
And at some point in this podcast, we're going to ask Dayna to say something.
Yeah.
Dayna,
So
welcome to the show.
So maybe, well, thanks for coming. Maybe just lay out the as quickly as you possibly can what that actually means, what it means to be caring for the diversity, engagement, and foundation at the Walser organization.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me. I appreciate that. So the title is kind of a mouthful. I do see that, but I think it developed organically. I initially started as a Google review responder at Walser, so my title was even goofier than the one I have now, and it kind of evolved over time to social media, corporate communications, and I still do corporate communications now, overseeing our comm strategy. But really, when we started to think about how Walser supports diversity, communications is one and the same. It's right there with it, and how we talk about our people. It's really just our people strategy. So I think you can't have that without engaging with them and being authentic with your own people. And we're really involved in our community, so Foundation is part of that too.
Yeah, and you guys have done a really, really unique job at caring for not just the entire people base, but also unique communities within the Walser organization. Talk about some of the communities that, like sub-communities within a larger organization, that you've been able to build and grow and center efforts around.
Yeah, happy to. So in 2018, we kind of started our diversity work in earnest, and we really looked at it from a customer perspective. And I think if you run these diversity, equity, and inclusion circles, you hear these stats a lot, which talk about over half of your customers at a dealership are women, and 85% of the time they're influencing the purchase of a vehicle or a household good. For me, I know that stat, I hear it a lot, but I think for some people that can be surprising. And so for us to couch this conversation about a business need with our customers, it was a really compelling way to get into that work. And then from there, we simply asked our employees, we have a really good culture of surveying and pulsing our employees, what else they wanted to see and what was important to them. And from there, we formed Women of Walser, our first employee resource group, and then Drive with Pride, focused on LGBTQIA plus employees through education, allyship, advocacy, and just in March we launched our third employee resource group, which is called Asian Hmong Alliance. Very high population of Asian employees at Walser, and so we had a hand raiser who just said, "Hey, what about us? Like, I want to do this community thing. Can we think about that?" And so that was really all it took. And the cool thing about these groups is that they're employee led, they're employee driven, and they're fully funded. And I mean, collectively, they have an $85,000 budget, not even including the stipends that each of our board chairs get to do this work, because it is work. And at the end of the day, job comes first. We all know that. And these are incredibly committed, elevated, high propelling people that are making real change in our company. But they're also committed in this way to making work a place that's fun and cool. And we really believe that.
I love what you called it. You said they're employee resource groups.
Yes.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
So talk about how that, because it's clear that you're choosing words carefully, right? In your job title and the way that you're doing things.
Very intentional.
Everything's intentional. So talk about the intentionality around calling these employee resource groups.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty kind of, I think when you look in the world of DE&I, there's a couple different things you could call them. We've heard BRGs, business resource groups. I really actually love that name because it really implies that you're impacting business units. There's affinity groups, some people call them. I think kind of whatever you're calling them, we chose ERG. You have to approach it from a really deep place of authenticity. And for us, it wouldn't have been possible without our CHRO, who came from corporate America experience, and our very progressive CEO, Andrew Walser, who said, I want to do this, but I need someone who knows how to take us there. And so no matter what you call them, if you don't have people from the top who are helping to push that,
it's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen.
No.
That's right. Yeah.
Give us a little an overview for listeners of the size of the organization, your geography,
Yeah.
Number of stores and staff size.
Yeah, so we're headquartered out of Edina, Minnesota. We're 26 rooftop dealer. We primarily retail cars out of Minneapolis. And then in Wichita, Kansas, we have a luxury campus with 9 stores there. And then in addition to the retail side of things, and I am specific about using the word retail because we don't deal. We're one price, negotiation free, one person. We also have a growing rental business out of New Mexico, Texas, Georgia, and Chicago.
And about how many people do you employ?
1,900.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
a couple.
Just a couple.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so how long have you been in the position you're in?
So it was a year in March that I've been in this particular position, but I've been with the group since 17.
And when did these initiatives really start to take root?
I would say probably in 2018 when Sherry Schultz joined us. She's our CHRO, and she just had tremendous out-of-industry experience. And that's not to say that these changes couldn't come from someone who's been born and bred in the auto industry, not at all. But I think she really saw the ability to enact some change in a really significant way. And I think, in addition to our ERGs, I think one of the most compelling pieces about Walser, in addition to being known as one person, one price, we're almost more known for our diversity and inclusion initiatives and the fact that we focus on family. I mentioned that we pulse our people a lot, and when we asked our people, what's important to you, they said family, God's will, surprisingly, or maybe not, and career. And so we knew these were the top 3 most important things to our people. And you could couch God's will any way you want, whatever religion you are. But those are the top.
You asked, and
we
that's
asked, and
what came up.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
That's wild, yeah.
So if you know that, and you got to be willing to do something if you know that. And so we started to develop benefits for our employees that focused on open PTO, take the time when you need the time, paid family leave for paternity, maternity, and adoption, 4 weeks paid on top of FMLA, and $10,000 in fertility and adoption assistance, because we know starting a family isn't always as easy for some people. So if you want to walk the walk, then go big. And to say that you don't have the money for it, you do. You do.
Well,
we know you do.
Now she's coming. She's bam, bam.
What have been some of the very obvious, because that sounds expensive, right, from the business case.
Right.
But what really happens with your employment expenses and retention when you put these things in place? What have you all seen?
So we track retention pretty closely, and we fluctuated. I mean, COVID obviously was a big part
threw
of
a wrench in everything,
for
right?
sure. But I think we are really. I mean, I think auto dealer is very metrics driven, and HR is, which is the umbrella I fall under, is no different. And I think you create much more currency with your dealers and with your GMs, I should say, when you can speak their language, and when you are saying, I have the metrics to back up, the need for our staff of 35 HR professionals who are experts in that, and we're not shy about having a big HR team because we do a lot of work. Yeah.
Wow.
So you actually, it's good for the bottom line, is what you're
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, GMs feel that they go, oh, this changes the net profitability of my business because of the way that my people feel being a part of the Walser organization. That's huge.
Yeah. And I will say that, from a director perspective at our corporate level, we have 20 directors, half of them are female. Things ebb and flow over time for various reasons, but we're proud of that stat. And I said it earlier today, but I'm a product of that. I'm a product of someone who said, this is a high potential. Let's focus on her growth. And I'm really grateful for that.
From Google review answerer.
Extraordinaire.
Assistant to the
Yeah,
Google
Yelp ones were
review.
the worst. So let's just be honest, those were the worst reviews.
Oh, no.
Yeah, but I think we have some work to do when it comes to our general managers. We're not quite there yet. We have one female, which is we're really proud of her. She has an amazing story too. She was a hairstylist for 11 years and came in and crushed it in auto sales on our luxury campus, and went to sales manager and did the lateral moves to change brands, to flex that muscle and build those shoulders. And when the time came for her to become a GM, it was a no-brainer.
Yep.
So we have some work to do there, but we're focused on it.
Yeah, what is that? Sounds like a work in progress.
Yeah.
But what are the works in progress right now that is really a function of some of the research that you've been doing with your employees, and the next steps to make sure that you stay ahead and you are the employer of choice in your area?
That's a good question. So I think I look at it from a couple different perspectives. So we're constantly looking at, what are the other kind of ERGs, and we're not forming them just to form them, but I think we're thinking about, what else would our employees are telling us is important. So we're in the process of focusing on a veterans group. If you look at a population of people who are primed for automotive, and you look at the services that they've made to our country, and the transition to civilian life can be incredibly difficult. So we're gearing up for ways to do that right. Another thing that our people told us was parenting was something that was really important to them. So it's not to say that could be, but it's on our mind.
Who wants to sign up to work there?
You're welcome anytime.
Awesome. Parenting resource group, I'll take it. I need that.
Come on. You guys are both family men. You know that like working the grind and having kids and a significant other, it is tough to balance that, let alone working retail hours. So I'm very empathetic to that. And then the other piece to it is that, mental health has never been more prevalent in our society than it is today, and we consistently see claims from within our own people and just conversation. Our people are struggling, and COVID was just the thing that kind of took the layer off to showcase that. So we're exploring some pretty provocative ways to provide more mental health support for our people, whether that's on-site therapy or it's digital resource or whatever that looks like. That's kind of the next gen of how we think about engagement and support for our people.
So over the next, last question, over the next 12 months, what are you most excited about?
Oh, gosh. I think if you're talking about from a diversity perspective where I sit, I think no company is perfect, and Walser is no exception to that. But I think we're at a place where we're ready to dive in deeper to the strategy of it. And I think people can kind of throw that word around but numbers talk. And I think when you look at using your data, and I think even for us, really honing in on what that looks like. And if you look at, equal employment opportunity data, 70% of our employees don't self-identify. So to get a real, look at what our makeup is, it's tough if you're looking at that small percentage. So I think for me, I'm most excited about digging in deeper to how we can be more surgical with that information and developing it from there.
So it sounds like you have a lot of the foundational pieces in
Yes.
place. So now you're able to actually take a more fine-tooth comb and look at everything, and that's exciting.
That's the hope. Yeah.
Well, boy, that's a great way to end this series. From our time here in Las Vegas anyway. I'm sure we'll continue on with this, but Dayna, thank you so much for giving us some of your time, and your energy and enthusiasm is definitely infectious.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for listening to the Amplify podcast, brought to you by Reuters Events and ASOTU. For more engaging episodes like this, subscribe or follow on your favorite podcast platform. You can learn more about our hosts, Paul J. Daly and Cal Mountsier, by visiting ASOTU.com.